Hey guys, I thought I'd do everyone a favor and try to go through something today because right now, as of ever since we got Brainiac confirmed for Man of Tomorrow, there's still this split between fans of previous cinematic franchise and those of the new cinematic franchise. Recently, what bothers me is how some people in the IR are counting on Netflix or another studio to cancel a certain film that fans are now looking for. Some of fans on the other are looking forward to seeing next year in 2027, mainly because well, mainly because it will feature Brainiac for the first time in a live-action movie. And believe me, it's been bothering me ever since. It's all been much of people's expectations of wanting this movie canceled or get tax write-offs been starting to bug me. Now, as much as I still, as angry as I still am at Gunn for what he did to Henry and for what he took from us back then, he for once has actually started listening to the fans and is now looking to deliver what we've been wanting to see for over 4 decades. Yes, you're looking at Brainiac, guys, right here. Man of Tomorrow brings Superman's most overdue villain to the big screen in 2027. And I hope they do start filming it soon because many folks have been waiting for Brainiac since we've been ripped off by Warner Brothers under Steve Ross's corrupt regime and back in the early 80s, that instead of bringing him to the big screen for Superman 3, they ripped us off with watered down garbage. And believe me, this kind of behavior out of the studios has circulated from one to another in many shapes and forms. And now corruption in Hollywood's gotten worse because of all the propaganda and all the involvement coming from out of our government institutions. I mean, really, Brainiac is Superman's greatest enemy, way greater than Lex. And we've been waiting a long time. Many fans, including myself, have been real angry that Warner Brothers has been holding back on having him appear on the big screen in live action fighting Superman, all because of budget constraints and crap, as well as other factors that are causing them to rehash, recycle, and repeat the older Superman movies again. Since 2000, they turned their backs on it and started relying too much on nostalgia. And that is truly where the issue with Hollywood today officially began, folks. Not with Disney when they bought Star Wars and rejected the EU, but with Warner Brothers turning down Superman Lives in favor of a rehash of 1978. A total waste of time, and you'd wonder why. And for how they treated Superman, you'd wonder why it did not perform well. I mean, they didn't even bother having him take on a different villain, and besides Lex and Zod in the live-action movies. And now, since Brainiac's been confirmed by Gunn last year in December, when he announced the confirmation of the actor that he's cast to bring the character to the big screen for the first time, not only has this helped me settle down, but finally we see more people speaking out and bringing out the truth online of what the issues have been at the studios all these years. I mean, don't get me wrong. Krypton was the first live-action television series to bring Brainiac into live-action format from the comics and done right, and not as some watered-down alternate version of him over budget constraints. Because really, what is going on? And I'm glad I'm not the only one who feels this way, because weeks ago, someone posted on the CBR this article, which is really good, a really good one that points out all the specifics of what WB has been doing absolutely wrong since Superman 3. Yeah, even though I'm not sure if they mentioned it, but here it is. Man of Tomorrow breaks the Men of Tomorrow's Brainiac debut breaks a 40-year-old Superman movie curse. Hear that, guys? A 40-year-old Superman movie curse. Yes, and this is exact, and it definitely highlights the core issue that folks in Hollywood, hell, even influencers online who do care about creative freedom should be concerned about and should be putting their eyes on it, not be told what to do by some various third-party entities and shit, or go attacking people over this. Pay attention. The DC Cinematic Universe's first major crossover event, Man of Tomorrow, is about to make superhero movie history. I hope it. Even though James Gunn is such a lunatic at times, at least he's finally waking up and listening to what fans actually want to see in live action superhero movies. James Gunn's follow up to the massive hit that was, well, Superman opens in theaters July 7th. Well, let's hope it doesn't. But let's hope the hearings at Netflix from the Netflix CEO don't actually discourage WB from moving forward with this, because they're just about to get started. Yeah, and he's right, as well as these regulators. Wait, what? Superman, which this follow up to 2025 movie opens up in July 2027 and will feature several of the DCU's major characters, including Superman, Supergirl, Hawkgirl, and Green Lantern. But one recent addition to the film's class is what really has the fan base buzzing. James Gunn recently confirmed that on X post that Brainiac will be the main villain in Man of Tomorrow. German actor Lars Ettinger will play the iconic DC supervillain in the upcoming film, following up on his star-making roles at projects like Jay Kelly and White Noise. Brainiac's debut is exciting for DC fans for several reasons, but it also secretly breaks one of the longest-running curses in superhero movie history. You hear that? And here we go, guys. Bear with me. Man of Tomorrow breaks a 4-decade Brainiac curse. For 40 years, Brainiac has been the biggest curse for DC movies. Man of Tomorrow is far from the first DC film that planned to introduce Brainiac, but will be the first to actually do so. At least 3 previous Superman films had plans to use Brainiac, well, as the main villain before Man of Tomorrow, but were all canceled before they entered production. Exactly. Right before entering production. I mean, and I think there have been multiple attempts to get him on board, but were held back because of the studio being so fucking mangled and so much hubris and vanity. Now, be sure to like and share the stream, folks. Yes. Yeah. But for 4 decades, planning to use Brainiac was tantamount to canceling the film altogether. Before the release of Superman and Quest for Peace in 1987, Warner Brothers and DC still had plans for a 5th installment of Christopher Reeves' iconic superhero franchise. The film, tentatively titled Superman Reborn, would have included a storyline where Superman dies and is reborn in a bottled city of Kandor. He would have been forced to find a way to break free of the bottle and battle his captor Brainiac, a crazed extraterrestrial cyborg who hoards vast sums of intelligence. The failure of Quest for Peace ultimately led to the cancellation of Superman Reborn, though unfinished scripts circulated online. Yep. Yeah, because they've been cutting back on the budget too much. That and had too much control over the process when all they were doing was focusing on carrying out dirty work instead of listening to folks. Almost 20 years, Brainiac was once considered for an antagonistic role in the sequel to Bryan Singer's Superman Returns. Early concepts for unmade movie feature multiple villains, including Brainiac, Bizarro, and other Kryptonians. However, the poor box office performance of Superman Returns and various other factors eventually led to cancellation of all sequel plans. For the second time, Brainiac was cheated out of his first live-action movie appearance, and his debut film was canceled altogether. Yeah, because they gave us the same goddamn villain, and the studio executives at WD started becoming political with their ego and shit. And for those of you who are defending these executives for their decisions, go to fucking hell. Especially to that asshole Movies TV Mad for choosing not to question these a-holes. Son of a bitch. Now, as for Zack Snyder revitalized interest in the Superman brand. Now, Zack Snyder revitalized interest in the Superman brand with his 2013 film Man of Steel, starring Henry Cavill. The film launched what is known to be as the DC Extended Universe and was considered widely successful theatrically. Naturally, Snyder planned to return for a sequel and claimed to interested in using Bizarro as one of the main villains. However, these original plans were scrapped in favor of Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. Yeah, while Snyder still planned to make Man of Steel 2 eventually, this fell through when Warner Brothers took the DCU in a different direction. Yeah, I know. Yeah, and it's unfair, too. It's really unfair. Yeah, really unfair. Brainiac was shafted yet again in 2022 when it was announced that Man of Steel 2 was finally happening after Cavill's return in Black Adam. Screenwriter Stephen Knight had reportedly delivered treatment to DC that would have included Brainiac as the main villain, just like Zack Snyder's original plans for the sequel. However, it was canceled only weeks after it was announced to make way for Gunn's rebooted DCU franchise, which really sucked. A complete waste of time. Yeah, management at the studio was extremely corrupt. Man of Tomorrow comes exactly 40 years after Superman Quest for Peace, finally breaking a 40-year curse on Brainiac's inclusion in a DC movie. To be clear, it was actually, the curse actually started with Superman 3 when they refused to use him in that movie and ripped us off like garbage, all because of these stupid, evil, black-hearted executives getting on our nerves with their hubris and their shareholders being so sensitive and shitty. Yeah, 4 times Brainiac was almost cast as a major antagonist, only for the entire film to fall apart. Provided that all goes as planned, James Gunn will finally bring the iconic Superman villain to the big screen. Here he is from Krypton. Brainiac's exclusion from Superman live-action films is more than just a matter of bad luck. It reveals a much bigger problem with DC's approach to the franchise. Yep, absolutely. Superman has an almost 50-year history in film, going all the way back to Christopher Reeve's Superman 1978 film, but DC has demonstrated a surprising lack of originality for most of the period, particularly when it comes to using villains from comic books. Right on. You hear that? DC has demonstrated a surprising lack of originality for most of this period, particularly when it comes to using villains from the comic books. One of the primary reasons that Brainiac hasn't appeared in this film before Man of Tomorrow is that Superman films focused far too heavily on Lex Luthor and General Zod as main antagonists. Hear that? Focused way too heavily on Lex Luthor and General Zod as main villains. That has been the core issue with WB for its handling, and for you who go defending him for it, go to fucking hell. Sorry. It's been getting on my nerves, too, for people to not give a damn with their fucking hubris. It's so disgusting. While these are undoubtedly Superman's 2 most popular film villains, their stories have been rehashed over and over again instead of introducing new villains for Superman to face. From Superman the movie onward, 5 to 7 Superman-centered films have featured either General Zod or Lex as their main villain. The 2 outstanding films, Superman 3 and 4, which both introduce new original villains who do not appear in comic books. While fans absolutely want to see more characters like Lex and Zod, hyper-focusing on these villains comes at the expense of all the other great antagonists in the comics. Brainiac is not the only member of Superman's rogues gallery who has never appeared in live-action film before. The list of iconic Superman villains still waiting for their big screen debuts includes Metallo, Bizarro, Mr. Mxyzptlk, Mongol, Parasite, Red Tornado, Toyman, and countless others. Yes. Keep in mind, folks. Yeah. Warner Brothers has constantly neglected to use other villains from Superman's rogues gallery for years. And what's crazy is it's all because of people being bought out to defend these a-holes at the studio for being so repetitive with all the rehashes and recycling and shit. Superman television shows have done a much better job of introducing the superheroes' vast rogues gallery. Brainiac has appeared in many of these, including live-action iterations of Krypton, Smallville, and the Arrowverse. This has been enough to hold fans of the character over during the interminable wait on his big screen debut. Yes. Precisely. That's exactly. Yeah, that's precisely been the core problem. And people who refuse to color or act like they're bought or have some kind of personal issues. After 40 years of failed attempt to include Brainiac in live-action film, Man of Tomorrow is an extremely exciting prospect for DC. The film is still in early stages of development with the story details forthcoming. Nevertheless, Gunn has revealed a few intriguing tidbits that set up Brainiac as the DCU's most powerful supervillain yet. His introduction will also have rippling effects on the cinematic universe as a whole, setting up the next chapter in the story. Audiences should expect accurate iteration of Brainiac, adapting his full origin story and mission, whereas earlier films may have compromised the zanier bits of Brainiac's story. Gunn's DCU embraced the campy elements of comic books, as such, fans shouldn't have to worry about Man of Tomorrow. That Man of Tomorrow will nerf Brainiac or try to ground him in reality. Yeah, we don't want him grounded in reality. Instead, they should expect to see a larger-than-life extraterrestrial villain who strongly resembles his comic book counterpart. Yeah, I hope so. I hope this doesn't cause problems because we'll come back to this because right now there are some folks who don't get, even on the Snyder that don't seem to care about Brainiac at all. Here's a fellow YouTuber of mine, Biko Movies. I don't know why he wants this to happen over these four, or how these four will perform, but really, they just started. But here's what we know they're flops, but do we really got to repeat history again? And dude, do you even know what's in Man of Tomorrow? And are you even paying attention to what's going on? Look, I want to see Justice League 2 and 3 from Zack 2. But is it worth having to cancel? But is it cancel Man of Tomorrow and risk repeating history again? And risk repeating the past 20 years over again? Come on, dude. Come on. Luckily, yeah, there's some people attacking him. Now, I'm not going to. Yeah, well, look, I am mad at Gunn for what he did. But so far, it looks like he's actually finally listening, hearing us out. Tell me, folks, is it really worth? Is your pride and your ego more worth of wanting to see the restoration of Snyder's more worth than just having what's long overdue get its chance at last? Look, don't get me wrong. I do want to see Zack's second and third Justice League movies happen, but I don't even know if we'll even have that. If he's ever going to have the chance to do a live action Superman versus comic accurate Brainiac movie, given how disgusting a habit Hollywood has had with constantly neglecting to give us the actual version of the character. And now, and right now, and I can't just expect that to happen over how Supergirl and other stuff he's got coming up will underperform. Of course, I have seen the DA's video. Yes, it's underperformed, but believe me, I really hate ads. All right, here's the video from the DA.
Man, this always cracks me up, man. Every single time, all right? Every single time the media narrative shifts, and it can only take a couple of months in some cases, all right? They'll try to say, oh, yeah, this thing is a huge success. And then next thing you know, oh, nah, this thing flopped. This thing is a mega flop, all right? Sometimes it only takes a couple of weeks like Predator Badlands. And then in some cases, yeah, we just got to wait it out, okay? Give it time, and the truth will out. So you guys remember James Gunn, right? He was celebrating Superman's success. He was calling its box office an enormous relief. It's like, oh my gosh, thank goodness, man. The box office came through for us after all, even though this thing was looking shaky as hell from like the first weekend. And everybody was like, what are you talking about, James? Enormous relief, man. This thing ain't doing well. That's why you pushed it to VOD early. You ain't lying. That's why it went to VOD in like 35 days. Like, what you talking about, bro? Oh, no. That's just because we want people to watch Superman before they watch Peacemaker.
Yeah, he's got a point too. I mean, they shouldn't have pulled it out of theaters. They shouldn't have. The executives shouldn't have gotten so obsessed with their streaming services and stuff. I know there was a heat wave there, but really, was it even that wise? I mean, come the week after the film's theatrical release, it had a big surge and folks going to the. It had a big surge in box office grossing. It had a big surge in box office money rising. I mean, the box office started surging for the Superman movie, even though I never went to see it out of my frustration with the studio's habit of reusing the same villains over and over again. I mean, it just resurged, and for them to just take it out of the theater, well, who knows? Let's get back to where we were.
Before they go and watch raunchy, hard R TVMA content. Yeah, that made absolutely no sense then, and it still don't make no sense. But now we see the truth, okay? Again, the truth ultimately comes out, and it came out in the version of Ted Sarandos in front of Congress under oath, testifying and confirming that James Gunn's Superman underperformed.
No way. Yes way.
Of course it underperformed. Of course it underperformed. We all saw it. And we just needed something legal to happen so that a guy that's trying to buy Warner Brothers right now, all right, the CEO of Netflix, he had to come clean and be like, yeah, man, it flopped, okay? Or it underperformed. His words, all right, underperformed. Now, look, some people will try to, couch this word. You're going to see a lot of coping, all right, from a lot of these shills. You're going to see
Yeah, people are going to start pushing back against this claim about, why would the CEO of Netflix bring up Superman as a movie that underperformed? I mean, who convinced him to use that as an example?
A lot of coping. Look for those videos tomorrow. There's going to be a lot of cope, all right? I ain't coping because I was saying, hey, this thing flopped. I don't know what these guys is looking at. I don't know what numbers they checking out. But this is an absolute flop, man. We saw it, man. $616 million worldwide on this movie. No, bro. This is a flop. And they were trying to find any which way they could to say, nah, this thing is doing great. It's making money. It's a success. And it's like, come on now, dog. Come on, man. Come on, y'all. This is not fooling anybody. All right?
I don't know how the DA
like at the end of the day, what it comes down to is the truth. Did the movie perform well? And if it did, why did they pull it out of theaters? because it doesn't make any sense to pull a movie out of theaters that's doing well. Now I do think they have some like funky math in their heads that says, okay, based on the marketing dollars that we made, when we release it to VOD, we need to release it at a certain point in time. But nevertheless, the fact that they pushed it to VOD so fast was really indicative of how the movie was doing internally, how they felt the movie was doing internally. All right. And so Ted Sarandos was out there in front of Congress, all right, testifying under oath or at the Senate. Hearing on the Warner Brothers Netflix deal. Now, he has to tell the truth because he's trying to buy this thing, and he has to be honest. All right. He has to be honest. He has to give them the real deal. And he says that Superman 2025 underperformed, and that is why its theatrical run was cut short, as opposed to an overperforming movie like Sinners, as official as it gets, folks. So let's go ahead and hear what old Teddy Boy had to say.
Will this be a fully exclusive 45 day?
I'm going to pause right there. Okay, let's listen.
A theatrical window.
Fully exclusive to theaters, yes.
And will this be self-enforced? In other words, if you fall short of that?
That is the industry. It is the industry standard for self-enforcement. However, routinely, movies that underperform, the window moves a little bit. And Superman was a little shorter window, and Sinners was a little longer window, but they still could refer to it as a 45-day window.
And so I guess the trend right now, though, then
Yes.
will this be a fully?
So you heard him. All right. He says, oh, yeah, Superman got a shorter window because it underperformed, and Sinners got a longer one. There it is right there. All right. And I guarantee you that Ted and David Zaslav and all the heads over there at Warner Brothers, they discussed the theatrical window because that's a big problem that they got right now. Everybody's like, oh, man, Netflix is going to rush these things to Netflix and streaming as soon as possible. Yeah, so they had to discuss this theatrical window very, very, very carefully. And I guarantee you, David gave him the news. He gave him the math on it. It's like, okay, when it hits a certain threshold, we send it to VOD. And until it hits that threshold, no. It's going to stay in theaters and we leave it alone. But once it hits a particular threshold, that's when it goes to VOD, because at this point now, the performance of it in theaters, we feel like it's reached its peak, and now we can get some more money We don't have to remarket the movie. I think that's where all of this stuff, sending it to VOD early, it all comes from marketing. We don't want to have to remarket the movie and spend extra money trying to get people to go and buy this on VOD. It's in theaters. You could just, hey, we still have ads playing for it in theaters. It only came out a month and a half ago or a month ago. And so I think that's the reason why they do this stuff. But again, you can't get away from it. He's saying it underperformed, and that's why the theatrical run was cut short. So all of the gun gooners that's out here saying, no, it made money, it was fine. Yeah, look, James Gunn said it himself. He was relieved at the box office. Wrong. Okay. It is what it is, man. If you like Superman, you like Superman. But let's call it like we see it, okay? It underperformed, all right? There is no way in the world that they wanted this thing to get only $600 million worldwide for the opening movie of the DCU. And listen, I understand why they're very careful about this, why they're being very cagey about this thing underperforming, because they just rebooted the universe. You think they want to reboot this thing again by...
Yeah, I'm with you there, DA. It's not worth having to reboot to start throwing any wedges into Gunn's Man of Tomorrow's movie from becoming reality. We all want to see Superman fight Brainiac in live action for the very first time, and we want all this obstruction, all these bait and switches, and all this gatekeeping to stop.
Just admitting, yeah, it underperformed. Yeah, that first movie, the very first movie in the DCU, didn't do so hot. They don't want to admit to anything at this point because they know admission is, hey, okay, these guys have no confidence in it or less confidence in it than they did. And so you're going to see a really interesting narrative come out this year with Supergirl, with Clayface, and with Lanterns. It's going to be really interesting to watch to see how these people talk about these projects, regardless of how they're doing in the box office or with the TV ratings. All right. It's going to be really interesting to see that. But yeah, let's go ahead and check out Cosby Book News. Shout out to Matt McGloin. During a Senate Judiciary Committee hearing on Netflix and the Warner Brothers Discovery deal, Netflix CEO Ted Sarandos dropped a bombshell regarding Superman, the James Gunn directed reboot of DC's iconic hero. Sarandos confirms the film underperformed while addressing the industry standard 45-day theatrical release prior to hitting streaming. Sarandos was grilled on the 45-day window. So we just saw the video, the little clip, Senator Cory Booker pressing Sarandos on whether Netflix would abide by a full exclusive 45-day theatrical window for upcoming films, a practice that has become the de facto standard before a movie transitions to streaming or VOD. And again, I say 90 days. If you're not doing 90 days, again, people can wait 6 weeks. 6 weeks is nothing, okay?
Yeah, I'm not even sure if it can do 90 days, given what's happening to our industry right now and stuff. Yeah, and I agree, because they just rebooted, and really, we can't keep putting up with this crap over and over again. Yeah.
But these cats don't even want to stick to the 6 weeks. They try to shorten it any way they can. Booker says, I want to ask a direct question. Will this be a fully exclusive 45-day theatrical window? Fully exclusive to theaters, yes. But when asked if this window is strictly enforced, Sarandos gave a telling response and name-dropped James Gunn's Superman, and you heard it, all right? The industry standard for self-enforcement, however, routinely movies that underperform the window moves a little bit. And Superman was a little shorter window, and Sinners a little longer window, but they could still refer to it as a 45-day window. So basically what they say is, okay, if this thing is, not doing well in the box office, we can cut it loose. We could drop it to 17 days, all right? We've seen that a couple of times. All right. We could drop it to 30 days. I think Jurassic Park was 32 days. Superman was like 35 days. We could cut these things back if they're not doing well. We don't have to stick to that 45 days. And we could just move it along. Okay. And Sinners got a longer window. Why? Because it was performing well. All right. It was still doing the numbers that they wanted to see. And so they was like, all right, yeah, Sinners can stick around. All right. Sarandos' candid admission confirms what many in the industry already suspected and what we first told you. Gunn's Superman failed to live up to expectations. All right. Now, this does bring an interesting question as to what they are going to consider underperforming. You know, it's like, oh, you know what? This movie is doing great right now in theaters. Man, we could say it's underperforming even though it's doing well, you know, and we can shorten it.
Yeah, that's true. It did make more than 600 million, even though it did not make its entire thing even. But I gotta wonder, guys, is it really worth repeating the year 2000 and repeating 2022 over how some of these current movies are performing just when Gunn has finally started making progress with bringing Brainiac onto the big screen in live action? I mean, come on. We need to give Brainiac a chance. Even though it's going to be campy with so much cringe humor, I wouldn't go backing out and calling for a tax write-off for cancellation or disruption. Hi, Slipknot. Hey there. Thank you. Be sure to like and share the stream too. Let's continue.
You know, all right, 45 days. Let's go ahead and drop it out there at 40 days or 35 days or whatever, even though the movie's performing well. So it's like failing to live up to expectations. Whose expectations are they looking at?
Maybe, but I'm not. But the problem with, even if he does, we would be forced to wait even longer. I mean, he wouldn't be crowned CEO right away, but who knows? Maybe he could, in case he does become the head of DC again next year, and maybe get Gunn to do reshoots and stuff to help set things right. But I wouldn't consider canceling this movie and having. Well, I wouldn't exactly go too far. Well, not Man of Tomorrow, but everything else that he has planned after it. Yeah, they should scrap everything he's got after Man of Tomorrow. Nonetheless, but I wouldn't go scrapping Man of Tomorrow because. Really, we have been waiting for Brainiac to appear in a live-action movie for so long, and I don't think it's worth canceling Man of Tomorrow over how his Gunn stuff will perform. I mean, he did bring something up about Elseworlds and stuff, which I'll show you. Well, hang on. Yeah, let me check things on. Hang on, let me check something. You remember back when he was speaking about Elseworlds? Yeah, that's true. Yeah. It underperformed indeed, which I knew, but somehow Gunn was able to confirm production of Man of Tomorrow. Let me just check this up. Now, hang on. Now, stick with me. I need. Hang on. I'm trying to find that. Well, from what I've learned from Andy at Hold My DualShock, Netflix would not have complete control over DC until 2029. Even though they've got a lot to go through before they can even pull this off. And I wouldn't expect them to go having that much power over Gunn's works yet, or even expect Zaslav to step in and rip us of what our. I wouldn't even expect Zaslav to go robbing us of our chance of seeing Brainiac in live action fighting Superman. Besides, hang on, I'm trying to find Elseworlds, DC Elseworlds. Yeah, Gunn said something about Elseworlds. Yeah, Gunn mentioned something about Elseworlds. An Elseworlds plan. Yeah. Yeah, Gunn mentioned something about Elseworlds. So hang on. Bear with me. I'm going to bring this up. Yeah. He said that Elseworlds projects are in development, but will he allow right now? And if you've seen the latest, he's allowing one movie that's from a different universe outside his universe to be greenlit. Yeah. Hey there, King of the Mantis. But no, I would not count James Marsters as Brainiac. He was more human. He was more of a watered down discount human Brainiac than the actual Viral Docs. But thanks for bringing it up, though. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, the Batman Part 2 was set. He says that the Batman Part 2 would be part of the Elseworlds era of his DCU, therefore outside his universe. Yeah, and so far this movie is yet to start filming soon. If not by later this summer. Yeah, the Batman. Yeah, I agree. It's more than just Gunn. It's the management at these studios. That's the problem. That's been the problem. Yeah, I know. It's been going up. Yeah, it's been watering down a lot. And I'm not even that excited or that heavily anticipated to seeing that sequel since it doesn't look like they'll be bringing in Man-Bat, Clayface, nor even Solomon Grundy. Since Gunn had to rob us of Clayface just to have something to parallel copy off of Substance. Now, as for Brainiac, I just need to hang on. All right. Here we are, guys. Here's a clip. Yeah, I know. Yeah, the Batman Part 2, I've seen it. It was watered down a ton. But first, I'd like to direct your attention to one of the DA's recent live streams from last year, where he and his crew talk about Brainiac. One of the guys banned me from his channel last year in Easter just for being too weird on panel. The other one, well, he and Casual Reviewer never actually showed up on panel for my streams because of stuff that's holding them back for some reason.
He thought about it. He didn't have much of an opinion. He's but James Gunn has confirmed that Lars Ettinger is cast as Brainiac in DCU's Man of Tomorrow.
There it is.
How y'all feeling about this? Have you seen the actor? All right, so this guy right here, next to the picture, definitely looks kind of on the
I just thought that was your typical
Brainy side.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like,
You know what? I've never had a problem with James Gunn's casting. He seems to always cast pretty decent. Like even when it came to Peacemaker season 2, John Cena, I would have never guessed would be a good Peacemaker. He nailed that fucking role.
I agree.
You know, Chris
Absolutely.
Pratt as Star Lord. He
No
has
reason
some pretty
to-
good casting. I've
no
never
reason
had
to
a
go
problem.
bring
But this
Chris
dude's
Pratt
probably a
on
good fucking actor.
yeah, to be fair, like he does do good casting. So
Hey, Ford.
maybe this guy's voice.
Hi,
just
how's it
matches.
going?
I don't know what
Whoever
this
wanna
guy
come
sounds
join
like.
me on
maybe
panel, you're
maybe
free
he
to
just
do
has
so.
that right voice because I'm assuming most of it's going to be CGI. Like
I have his voice down.
Anyway, Fourth, would you like to come on panel right now? Or are you busy with something at the moment? Because I've seen you hang out with Belle Rev on her stream sometime last year. I figured someday I'd like to have you on panel for stuff as well. All right, let's continue.
From Injustice 2. The Injustice 2 voice actor is like fucking Kevin Conroy Batman, in my opinion. So he's got a big shoe to fill. That's for sure.
I think for this role, because this character is OP, I just hope they do not do him
like they did Apocalypse, man. Like, this is an important character. Everything hinges upon this character, dude. Not Darkseid, because we already seen Darkseid in Zack Snyder's version. But this character is important to Superman's existence. This is the glue. This is basically the kryptonite, the living embodiment of kryptonite, dude. This is a very, very important character. The costume is going to have to be great. The acting is going to have to be great. He is going to have to be menacing. And I don't know that James Gunn can pull that off for 2 straight hours. So we're gonna get quick snips of him. You know what I mean? Like shorts. And I think it'll manage itself well, but I'm really worried about the costume design. I'm worried about the execution of this character.
All right, I'm gonna play you guys a little bit of Lars Ettinger, him doing some interview on a movie, just so y'all can hear him. Make your own determination if you think this guy, comes off as Brainiac.
Jury under President Meryl Streep, which must have been remarkable.
Yeah, right. I would say my first memory is the first time I participated in the Berlinale was with everyone else from Maren Ade. And I remember that they told us that the press conference was the press screening was quite successful, but they were laughing.
Oh, hang on, guys. Hang on. Sorry about that, folks. Couldn't risk playing that commercial because I don't want to get hit with copyright. Always important to take precautions once in a while.
My name was full screen. Mm-hmm. So the movie starts with my name, first Birgit Minichmayr, and then my name on full screen. And the press were laughing because they didn't know us.
Mm-hmm. I mean, German.
So what do you think, guys? Do you think Lars Ettinger seems worthy for Brainiac? But not only does he seem to have an interesting voice, but I've also learned that he's more than 6 feet tall. So that should be good enough of a height for an actor at his range to bring Brainiac to life. Since Brainiac is supposed to be tall like Superman, I think.
Voice, so you can kind of see intelligence kind of comes off of him.
I mean, he comes off articulate, like he's articulate. That's a huge plus compared to like a lot of Hollywood people so far. Like I'm not against it.
I see with this character, they're going to have a lot of CGI and they're strictly going to use his voice.
No, I can see
his
voice because
his voice sounds menacing. His voice with that computer tone in it. Yeah, that's why I was closing my eyes to really listen, and you could hear that tone in him. But I don't see like practical effects with this guy. They're going to use a lot of CGI in regards to Brainiac. Yeah. So his voice is going to be good. He's going to have to work on his English a little bit more, to sound more clean in regards to, articulate, but it could work if it's just voice acting, but if it's practical, they need somebody else.
I mean, he has the pronunciation and his voice is actually clean. Like we've heard ton of, German people before, whatever. And so, well, let's not get into that, but also let's just say, certain German people don't enunciate well. He enunciates well, and it comes off very clean. If he cleans that up a little bit and then does that in the studio, but like I was saying, it's gonna be mainly CGI for like it's gonna be him, his voice. It's gonna be like a Ultron, like James Spader with Ultron. It's gonna be that.
This is the mock-up that Grok gave me. And I think it also was in somebody else's who was it? Cosmic Book News. I think they did this same little mock-up. This is basically him as Brainiac. I mean, if this look is what they're going for, I'm all in. All right, this looks good. And then you don't necessarily have to do as much, with the CGI. You could just say, hey, we're going to put these little diodes all on his head. We'll give him some green makeup. There we go, Hey, look, we've been waiting on Brainiac to come for a long time, man. Look, what's her name? Sergeant Giratina has been absolutely begging for this, all right? And I think we're finally going to get this. Is it going to be enough to keep James Gunn's job? That's the question.
Isn't it a little on the nose though to get a dude with a German accent to be the main big villain of Superman after he just did Peacemaker with his perfect world and everything? You know, like
hey, look, Germans have been
kind of on the
villains.
nose.
Germans have made some really good villains over the years, haven't they? they usually are good at villainy. So, and look, man, if it wasn't, a German actor, it'd probably been an English actor, somebody that can play that, menacing, intelligent villain. We've seen that for years. I like this look. I mean, T, you still shaking your head, man. You don't know?
I think that Hollywood has a problem. If he portrays a good character, a great character, let's say, we got to wait three more years to see him as something else. They need to get with it. You cannot afford to be doing every other. You need to come up with something every year, because YouTube, it's on demand, man. You cannot have this. Oh, you need to have production teams ready to get more practical effects. Stop doing all the CGI stuff, or use new technology that speeds up the process. So what if he does a good role, man? I got to see him 3-4 years later, dude. Come on. You need to speed up your process, man. It takes. How can you pump out those freaking paranormal movies every year, but it takes you there should be another Superman movie next year. That's how important you need to.
It's because those movies cost $50,000 instead of $200
Paranormal
million.
Activity ain't nothing. You don't need special effects or very little.
I don't care what
You just need a ratty ass house and a couple strings, dude, and you got a paranormal.
Do
movie.
something better, dude. Do something. These people are not out of work. These people are not out of work, dude. They need to work. Put them to work. Do something. You have all the resources in the world. That's why the executive producers give money. That's why producers give money. Do something, dude. What are you on? You need to speed up your process, man. It takes. How can you pump out those freaking paranormal movies every year, but it takes you there should be another Superman movie next year. That's how important you need to.
It's because those movies cost $50,000 instead of $200 million.
Paranormal Activity ain't nothing. You don't need special effects or very little.
I don't care what
You just need a ratty ass house and a couple strings, dude, and you got a paranormal.
Do
movie.
something better, dude. Do something.
That's all you need.
These people are not out of work. These people are not out of.
Yeah, and I can see how they're able to pull off bringing Brainiac to life, because European actors are said to be cheaper than the American kind. But I don't care as long as they do a good, proper job.
Work, dude. They need to work. Put them to work. Do something. You have all the resources in the world. That's why the executive producers give money. That's why producers give money. Do something, dude. What are you waiting for? You need to adjust, because you know what? It's here today, gone tomorrow. You are not dealing with people who have an attention span to wait. You are going to be like these goddamn fucking malls that are closing because people are saying, why should I go to the mall and deal with germs and deal with other stuff and COVID? I'm going to just shop at home. There's nothing. You need to get engaged, dude. You need to bring back tangibility to entertainment. If you do not, you are going to die. That's why Netflix is going all in, betting on Warner Brothers, betting on all these and you're going to see Amazon make a play next, because this stuff is serious. You cannot wait around. You're going to fumble your customer, because your customer is saying, you know what? I'll just get the product that's over in anime, or I'll just get the product that's over in Korea. I'll get my product somewhere else. You need to do something. You need to be America first on everything, but you're not. You're not, because you know why? You're too much in your feelings and don't want to be offensive. And you need to crack a couple eggs to make some omelets, man. Get with it.
Let me crack a few eggs for you, T. I think this CGI looks like shit. I think this fucking whoever thinks this Brainiac picture and AI came up with looks good, looks like shit. We get CGI diodes on his head instead of Lex Luthor purple fucking kryptonite fucking technology that Lex Luthor came up with. That Brainiac is going through all the universe and stealing the best technology from around, utilizes Lex Luthor's. And he's supposed to have an nth metal suit. It looks like a fucking suit from fucking 1999.
Well, I mean, this ain't what James Gunn is going to do.
I know, but I'm saying Chris Bolton.
Yeah, we know that Gunn's not going to make him look like that. That's just a concept art made with AI to something. He would have to be greener than that. Edinger, of course. He needs to be greener than
Chad
that.
said it. I want more practical effects. I don't want no fucking indents in the head with CGI. Be careful, everybody saying this might look good because we can CGI for cheaper. No, give me some practical effects, which I think James Gunn will do, like with Suicide Squad. Remember the one guy in there? We had like the fucking diodes on his head, the crazy little fucking things. So I think he'd have more of like, whatever his name was, something to where this looks shitty. I mean, I know this is Grok put together, but I want to see the Lex Luthor technology, which we haven't gotten yet. So they better get to that with Supergirl. They didn't show like Lex actual how he manipulates kryptonite and it puts it in liquid form and it flows through over his fucking armor, and he uses that to protect himself from Kryptonians. And you got nth metal from anybody else who can, that's not a Kryptonian, armor. There should be some kind of explanation to that to get people to see how he's physically intimidating, besides the fact that he's mentally intimidating because he's, his intelligence levels through the roof, off the charts. It's like,
right. And what have they proven so far in this James Gunn universe? It shows that he's a joke. He has made these characters be a straight up joke. Nobody takes these characters serious, dude. From Creature Commandos, what does Creature Commandos have to do with Supergirl? What does it have to do with Superman? Nothing. What does Peacemaker have to do? It is all a joke, dude. And you know what? One thing I don't want to be considered is a joke. Nobody. What are we waiting for, dude? You had more than a year and a half to place to surpass Marvel. Marvel is saying, hey, take the rings. Sony's not even in the game, man. Nobody's even talking about Sony, man. Like, what are you doing? What do you do? You need to have had something done 5 weeks ago. It needs to be done. What are you waiting to June? This thing's going to get massacred in June. This movie will bottom out at 50 million. That's it. Nobody's checking for this. What are you doing?
Million?
Dude?
Damn,
that's way too.
Dang, I mean, I think it'd get at least a. I think
that's like a half-ass horror movie in January. That's not.
I think Curiosity will double that.
Get it, dude. Why not release this on Women's International Day? I would have gone with. I would have been a shield and put this out in March on Women's International Day. That makes more sense than putting it in. It's going to get battered around, dude, like a pinball in June. Yep. It's stupid, dude. Why would you release that in June, dude? For what? Or I would have did it during Halloween.
What's worse is, like we talked about and we looked it up. It's like what movies come out the week before and the week after, and one of them is like Toy Story. I can't remember the week after, but it's like it's sandwiched in between like two massive movies. So it's like you have 1 week to prove yourself. That's it. That's it, because you're gonna get destroyed by these. Like, even if people are not looking forward to Toy Story 5, whatever, that comes out the week before. Toy Story 5 is going to be, it's going to dominate it. Like, it's going to
I think they expected that to happen. I think they wanted that to happen that way because they sandwiched it in between. So if it fails, they could blame
Minions. It's sandwiched in between Toy Story, Minions, and the Spielberg film.
They could blame the competition. They could say that the competition was, thick, and that's the reason why we didn't make so much, and yada, yada, yada. Like, that's
Spring Break. Why not release it for Spring Break? If she's on Spring Break herself,
Spring Break, that would be.
All right. Sorry about that, folks. I was busy making dinner, but let's hear what Tyrone Magnus has to say about Brainiac being confirmed. Here we go. Yes, Spring Break indeed. Now let's hear Tyrone Magnus say.
Wasn't the right time to introduce Brainiac yet, or something like that?
I don't care what time.
People are saying that this is a desperation move. I don't know. I'll tell you how I feel after we check out this this article here. Superman and Lex Luthor will team up against uber villain Brainiac in Man of Tomorrow. The Wrap has exclusively learned. Production on the film is set to kick off in Atlanta in April. Man of Tomorrow will be released July 9th, 2027. Since the announcement of Man Tomorrow, fans have suspected that Brainiac would be the film's eventual foe. There are multiple indicators that point to this, chief among them the fact that the movie follows a temporary alliance between Superman and Lex Luthor. With a rivalry as deep as theirs and a hatred as consuming as Luthor's, it would take something significant to get the duo to bury the hatchet to work together, even temporarily. Such a team-up is hinted at during a climactic scene in Superman when Corn Sweat's Man of Steel and Holtz Luthor tells Holtz Luthor that he hopes, for the sake of the world, that Luthor uses his own humanity for good. Well, I don't know if that's hinted at with that line. But Gunn addressed this aspect of the plot in the press conference for the finale of Peacemaker Season 2. When The Wrap asked the DCU architect what kind of threat could get Lex, who ends Peacemaker, in fairly cushy position to team up with his greatest enemy, Gunn cheekily answered by simply saying, a pretty pronounced one. Lex Luthor is mostly concerned about Lex Luthor, Gunn said. So we'll see what threatens Lex Luthor. Brainiac certainly fits the bill as the supervillain. His intelligence rivals Lex's own, thus making a compelling case for the super smart Lex Luthor to team up with the super strong Superman. As the film's villain, Gunn further teased Brainiac as the villain when he posted the front page of Man of Tomorrow screenplay with an image of a human skull with an exposed brain. I didn't see that. Audience is likely to expect Brainiac to be present in Man of Tomorrow for the simple fact that the villain's been a long time coming. Yeah. I mean, everybody's been asking for Brainiac forever. He was supposed to be in, was it one other Superman movie? Yeah, people have been wanting it. It's just, I think maybe two other Superman movies. I forgot, was he supposed to be in Superman Returns? I can't remember, but he was supposed to be in Flyby, right? I know a lot of you know some of the specifics now, but I'm not reading the rest of this article. Here's my issue. With as horrible as that movie was to me, the Superman movie was, Superman 2025 was to me, and half of the fandom, I just don't want to see his Brainiac. I don't. I just think his Brainiac will be stupid. I just, putting it plain and simple, with his Superman, his Superman is, boy, he's goofy. I always tell you all that. Oh, you gosh, it's, I don't want it. Now, if it was a Zack Snyder Brainiac, now that would probably be terrifying. Who knows? Maybe we'll get that one day. But
maybe,
yeah.
Not
truthfully, sure. I have zero interest. Now, maybe when the trailers eventually come out, it'll spark my interest. See, because he'll be making a movie after seeing the backlash that it received.
I don't know why he's got to make that snorkeling noise, but
from half of the fandom. So I think he's going to be trying to shoot for $1 billion movie.
Yes.
So in shooting for $1 billion movie, I think he'll probably tone down the goofiness a little more.
Yeah.
Maybe a lot of mo.
Yeah, that would definitely help even more if you can tune it down and not so much goofiness is what it needs. Definitely what it needs. Not more and more of it.
Who knows what he'll do? But oh God, Superman is so terrible. And I'm just thinking to myself how people are fighting over, like I, saw headlines, like, okay, so it lost 42 million, right? But then they're saying that it made like 100. So which one is it? But I noticed with the titles that I saw, specifically the $100 million one, is that it didn't say in the theaters. So if it was profitable, $100 million, it was because of other things, not the theater. It was toys and merchandise and whatever else. Don't know. But yeah, man, I'm just tired, man.
Local tax expert.
Yeah, we are tired. Mostly tired of seeing the exact same stuff over and over again. But now let's go to his reaction to Edinger.
Stakes and hints.
Here we go. Let's check out his reaction.
So we have our Brainiac.
Yep.
And when I saw this name, I said, who?
Yeah. Careful, Tyrone.
I do not know who this is. I will look him up momentarily. The Brainiac mystery is now over! So,
wow.
James Gunn has officially announced that Lars Eidinger has been cast as Brainiac in Man of Tomorrow, ending weeks of rumors and speculation surrounding the villain role. Gunn confirmed the casting on social media, saying that during a worldwide search for Brainiac, Eidinger rose to the top, like the cream of the crop. Ooh, yeah, dig it, and welcomed him to the DCU. The announcement comes after Gunn repeatedly pushed back casting rumors, insisting no actors had been discussed or auditioned. With Eidinger now officially cast, it's clear the role has been locked and the film is moving forward. Brainiac is one of Superman's most iconic villains, and most people been wanting to see him big time, and just keeps getting thrown to the wayside. Created by writer Otto Bender and artist Al Plastino, first appearing in Action Comics number 242. This marks the character's first major live action appearance in a Superman film. In Man of Tomorrow, David Corenswet Superman and Nicholas Holt's Lex Luthor are forced to team up against a new threat emerging from the galaxy. Brainiac serves as a threat, positioning the sequel as a much larger, more cosmic story than its predecessor. Every time I hear predecessor now, I think of Neo's talk with the architect. Every time. The team up between Superman and Lex signals a major escalation in stakes and hints at a tense, uneasy alliance driven by survival rather than trust. Who is Lars Eidinger? Eidinger is a highly respected European actor with a strong background in intense, character-driven performances. His credits include Oliver Assayas, Cloud of Sills, Maria and Personal Shopper, as well as Noah Baumbach, White Noise, and Jay Kelly. For that, I have not heard of none of these.
He was in Dumbo.
Last year, Eidinger earned an European Film Award nomination for Best Actor for his performance in Matthias Glasner's Dying, further cementing his reputation as one of Europe's most acclaimed actors. Okay, so now we know. So tell me how many of you knew who he was. The bigger question is, are you excited? Do you care?
It happens.
Does it not matter? As far as I'm concerned, it doesn't matter. The only reason why is because the first movie from James Gunn, to me, was so bad that I'm just like, I can't see it getting any better. Although it could get better because the movie is divisive. And when something is divisive, a lot of times changes are made.
Yes, it should be.
Because of what I do, I will be walking into that theater to review this movie. But what I'm hoping is, at least when I walk in, there's a better suit.
Oh, yeah.
If there's not a better suit on this man, I will know they did not listen at all to us, and they're going to do whatever the hell they want. Because that suit was absolute garbage.
Yeah. Tyrone never liked the suit. Yeah, and he always claims Superman's his favorite, but in truth, it's actually Venom because of how happy he got when he got to play as Venom in the PS5 Spider-Man 2 game. Anyway, now let's see Katie and Andy's take on Edinger's casting as Brainiac, which is finally here.
It feels like there's no actors left to cast that have not already been in superhero movies. And so the question is, what do you do when every character's already been in a major comic book franchise? Well, James Gunn's idea? Cast a German techno DJ as the most dangerous mind in the DC universe.
Someone that most people would say they have no idea who he is and have never watched a single project.
Yeah, that's true. Here, let's keep it playing.
That he's been in.
I love the idea that because we know James Gunn's personality is entirely wrapped around loving music, that somewhere in a Berlin nightclub, he heard this guy go unst, 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 and said, "My God, that's Brainiac."
That's my Brainiac. Oh my gosh. And yes, he's also a rapper.
Yes, that is very important to remember that this actor is also a rapper. We will not do him the disservice.
This actor is also a rapper.
Yeah.
You said raptor.
So, my bad. He's also a rapper. And apparently a Shakespearean actor. So this raises the bigger question, jokes aside, of have we reached a point where there's no value in casting big name actors for these roles anymore? Are the big name actors a hindrance? Have we gotten to the point where it's better just to cast a complete unknown? And that's what I want to talk about.
Yeah, because there's two sides to this. Is it important to have someone with a big, flashy name heading up your main villain because you need more people to be invested in the story? Or is the IP so big because it's still Superman that you don't even have to go that route and you can have someone who is less known or not known at all and the character precedes the name of the actor?
Yeah. When we were leading up to this announcement, there was a lot of speculation on what actor would be big enough, important enough, valuable enough to the DCU.
There was tons of fan castings and quote unquote leaks of who was James Gunn looking at for the future villain of the DCU because there was names like Matt Smith and even
Dave Bautista.
Dave Bautista, yeah.
I think the natural assumption was, with how important Brainiac is to the future of the DCU, how many people are desperate to see any portrayal of Brainiac, that you need to go all out and get somebody phenomenal. But it turns out everybody's speculation, all the scoops were absolutely wrong, which that should be a huge lesson to everybody who, I guess.
Now yeah, I know, but let's keep in mind, part of the reason Brainiac hasn't been cast is more than just studio interference, but from the legal perspective, from the legal business perspective, it's all also comes from how expensive actors are, not just the CGI and practical effects, prosthetics equipment themselves. I mean, yeah, I mean, Daniel Craig, last I checked, had a net worth of 180 million, and I'm not even sure if we're able to even see him as Brainiac in any live action film. So yeah, I think Gunn is this is part of the reason Gunn's going with unfamiliar folks, particularly European, because he's seems to be quite well aware of the barriers that held the studio back from bringing the villain to the big screen as well.
Looks to scoopers as anything other than just educated guessers, because every once in a while you see behind the curtain and realize like there's no educated guess that'll help you when you're completely off the mark.
No, you guys, this is a fucking hype machine. Let's call spade a spade. This is clearly exposing the fact that all of the hype and lead up to who was going to be the major casting for the Brainiac role was like smoke and fucking mirrors. Like they clearly had no idea who was going to be casted. They wanted to make this big hullabaloo about, could we get this main actor? Could we get this big name? Because no one's saying they're like fan casting nobodies. And
by the way, I'm actually quite relieved that nobody's pretending to know who this actor is. We jokingly,
yeah, same here, Andy. Yeah, and I'm glad it's not one of those people that Grace Randolph had speculated on her sheet. I mean, what in the world was she living in? I mean, Grace Randolph, something really needs to be done about that woman for pushing out misinformation. Now, don't get me wrong. I know Gunn can be political and deceiving at times, but after making Brainiac casting official last year with Lars Edinger as Brainiac, as well as backtracking what he said about Brainiac not being in the film, and then staying true to his word that he said he never had staying true to his word that he said he never had any of those people that Grace Randolph had on her list in the audition. Yeah, something really needs to be done about Grace Randolph. I mean, really. I'm glad that Gunn did not back out from having Brainiac involved in this movie. And he's got a point there. Something really needs to be done about Grace Randolph and where she gets her fan speculation ideas from. Now let's continue.
Said, like, as the news came out over the weekend that this actor, I'm forgetting his name.
Lars.
Yeah.
Lars Edinger.
That as he was cast, that there would be the typical kind of, hype machine, promotion of him saying, he was in X, Y, and Z, and how
dude,
we're so lucky to have cast him. Yeah.
Yes.
Now, even though I've been so desperately trying to find ways to get Katie, Andy, and Peter back to join me on my panels, part of the reason why I've not wigged out and let loose is not just because of how much of the psychological frustrations impacting my life, but because matters like Brainiac and a lot of other factors that I've been dealing with in the world are reasons why I've been keeping my trust and faith in the Dooleys together. Because who else would be out there for me to hang out with when I'm all alone and bored? Even if I don't get them on for the stream I got planned on the 18th this month, there's still plenty of other streams I could try reaching out to them to bring them on for on Wednesdays at times. And it'll take even longer before I can even try bringing them on for some of the new Tuesday streams I've got on Pokemon related topics, because I'm still trying to work on getting more guests to join. But nonetheless, they are good people, even though I don't know what it is they got going on from time to time on Wednesday nights. But hey, I might be lucky the next time, if not this month. And I'm proud of them for actually covering this matter at hand, because sometimes we do want to hear good stuff coming out for once, and not just stuff that circles around the negative. And yeah, I'm glad I stayed with them instead of leaving them and going to join up with Sky and other guys. Because really, after seeing Gunn confirm the actor is being set to play Brainiac, there's no reason there's no reason to leave people and just go join them to fight for stuff that looks impossible to win and is more at risk of repeating the same typical scenarios over and over again. And now, so yeah. I'm glad I stayed.
Of when David Cornswet was cast, was like, how were they able to get? Looks at paper, Lars Ettinger to be in the casting of Brand New Day,
And surprisingly,
or Man Up Tomorrow. Sorry.
In the admission that nobody really knows who this actor is, people are retroactively admitting that they didn't know who David Cornswet was, because we all saw, 2 years ago when David Cornswet was announced, that people were all pretending like he was this huge get, and not what he was, like a relatively unknown actor who was eager to play Superman.
Exactly.
Which is totally fine. I have no problem with unknown actors.
Not that I think they should go unknown. Like, I have no issue with them casting him as Brainiac. It's probably the best, smartest choice because it's someone that you aren't already expecting to be, who's already been in another movie. So you're not getting confused. Like, is he actually going to be this character, or am I looking at him and actually seeing somebody else that he played in another superhero movie?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad too, Katie, because it's way better than than what we would have gotten if we ended up getting someone out of Grace Randolph's fan favorite list of actors like Walt LaShawn. My God, this movie would have definitely been a complete disappointment. Or even anyone else in there, like the David Hyde Pierce, who's said to have neural functioning disorders, or even Cleese Bang, who played the villain from Wrecking Crew, who has a squeaky, puny kind of voice. Yeah, none of those actors would have fit the role of Brainiac. And so far, after listening to Ettinger's interview from the DA's live stream, yeah, I think he's the better pick than anyone on this list. Hell, even better than what we could have gotten out of mainstream Hollywood, seeing what the industry today has become.
And I think that that's definitely part of the problem is you can have a level of fame as an actor where it becomes impossible to see past the name and the brand.
It becomes a distraction.
It becomes a distraction.
Yeah.
Now, I guess my bigger question will be, so if this gentleman is a Shakespearean actor, if he is very, very capable, is there any room for that in James Gunn's DC? Let me know what you guys think in the comments, because so far, I don't think anything that has come out of the DCU has justified a thespian.
The need
Yeah.
for a thespian, yes.
But if you're trying to, I guess, steelman this, you can make the argument that compared to the insanely goofy, over-the-top, silly tone of James Gunn's DCU, having someone who is like a thespian, a Shakespearean actor, might add a sense of depth and gravitas that actually kind of pulls it all together and makes it very obvious, like the stakes and how dangerous Brainiac is. Like, it could be a huge point of contrast between the rest of the universe.
Yes. Now, this is going to be my only concern. Not even concern. I feel like it's the thought process behind it is the correct mindset. I feel like these films need smaller actors because it'll be smaller budgets, and that's moving in the right direction when you're trying to make major projects like superhero films. I just don't think he's going to be used wisely because James Gunn has already kind of solidified that these.
Yeah, I know, Katie. I know. But we can't always get what we want, and we can't have everything. Believe me, even if we try and reach that kind of thing, it's definitely going to come with a cost. There's always going to be a downside to a lot. So better than having to risk repeating history, because really, there are a lot of folks out there in the world who want to see Superman fight Brainiac for real in live action for the first time, and not some watered down knockoff like we got out of Superman 3 or even Smallville. because we don't want that. We want the comic accurate version of Brainiac, who is an alien Kalu and from outer space, and who's known for being the collector of worlds. And even though Gunn's version of him is certainly not going to be 100% exactly like the character, it will still be 75% comic accurate. And he's got some, and from what I've seen from the promos of what he and learned from what he had from the previous movies, like this baby Joey character that was held hostage by Lex Luthor in the 2025 film, they say that that Lars Edinger's Brainiac will be baby Joey from the future. And if so, well, not only do I feel like they're trying to use AI to try to find a way to get Brainiac into a live-action Superman film by taking inspiration and basing the idea off of a previous live-action television show, but it's better than. But while looking to find other movies to try to draw that would draw parallels to Man of Tomorrow, besides Dawn of Justice, like The Hitman's Bodyguard, where the bodyguard and his archenemy, the Hitman, team up against a Belarusian dictator. Yeah, that would be that would make sense, and a positive preference as well. Let's continue.
Types of films are going to be goofy, and that's also not to say like there's been a lot of announcements of other side characters that are going to be in the films. The main chick who's from The Witcher, who plays Yennefer, is going to be Cersei in Man of Tomorrow. So like there's still going to be like a shit ton of characters.
Yeah, a shit ton, Katie. Is it a shit ton?
It'll be a lot.
A lot of characters.
Yeah.
You've been so hot about this whole topic.
Sorry.
No, I don't think that there's any need for emotion because nobody really knows at this point.
No, I think the clear contrast should be, do you need a big name actor for your film to be successful, or can you go the route of lesser known people?
Or is it better to go lesser known?
Yeah.
Like, is the stature of a giant name brand actor, does that become a barrier to people being able to buy in on some of these characters? And then do we live in a world where like the fan castings are so loud and so obvious that it doesn't leave a whole lot of room for any creative to really tell the actual character story? You know, because there are examples where you have a character who just seems so perfect for the role that you're like, oh, that's who we should get. But I don't feel like that was the case with Brainiac. I think that there was a lot of spaghetti against the wall being like, oh, what if you got Matt Smith? What if you got this other dude?
Yeah, those would be big names that I think would turn people's heads to be like, hey, wait, he's going to be in that movie. And it might have a couple more people interested, but I don't think it would make a massive difference like they would need it to be.
Yeah, do you need a giant actor to add legitimacy to the project?
But not you guys. We've seen with film after film, whether it's Disney projects or other films, it just not matter.
Mm-hmm. I mean, look at The Flash. That was packed with famous people. Ben Affleck's in that. Michael Keaton returned. Ezra Miller was well famous by that point.
Yeah.
Huge disaster. Did nothing, you know?
Yes. Yeah. We also saw with the Marvels, you saw Brie Larson, who was an Oscar winner.
Is
doesn't go away. She didn't lose it, but is an Oscar winner. Samuel Jackson, who's a beloved actor, like didn't make a difference.
It is funny, the idea that maybe if you have a terrible enough movie, the Academy should look at that Oscar and say, we've reconsidered.
We take it back.
You know, we love The Room, but after seeing the Marvels, we think that maybe this is misplaced, and they just take the Oscar away.
Yes.
And like, you know, there's tons of examples of successful castings of unknown actors. You know, Christopher Reeve was an unknown, and really was able to use that to make Superman his own, and has become the defining image of Superman for the past, 60 years, almost 50 at least. Chris Hemsworth as Thor. Nobody, by the way,
I feel like most people forget that he was unknown.
Not only was he unknown, he was the lesser of the two Hemsworths. Like they wanted Liam. They wanted Liam,
which is weird to think about now.
How the tables have turned.
Yeah.
The fact that now we look at Liam as the lesser one. But again, it was because Chris Hemsworth was able to make the character of Thor his own.
Well, and he also looked like a Greek god, so you know it all fit. It worked.
I mean, Liam was handsome too. It's just there's a difference. So I guess you could say that I guess the natural argument against all this would be that there are certain IPs that are so big it doesn't matter who you cast them. Like, it doesn't matter who you cast as Batman. The character is big enough to carry a film.
And that's the thing. We're in a cultural shift, you guys. There's no longer the need to be like, hey, we have to get specific actors to be in our film, because people care more about the IP, the brand name, than they do about the actor.
But I do think that there are some comic book roles, especially, that people have conflated or have mistaken as being a draw in of themselves, and they're not. They absolutely needed an actor, because if you look at like Iron Man, I don't think Iron Man does anything back when it came out if you didn't have Robert Downey Jr. pulling the heavy lifting with that.
No, but that's also because Iron Man wasn't well known at that time.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
people now will look back and be like, oh, Iron Man was an unknown character. It's like, yeah, played by a very famous actor. So it's almost like this inversion where if the actor is famous enough, yeah, sometimes they can carry a big role or can carry an unknown comic character. And if the role is big enough, sometimes it can elevate an unknown actor. But at a certain point, if the comic character is famous enough, the actor that plays them will become famous too.
Yep.
And then they're kind of locked in. And I think that's part of the problem we're seeing in these latter stages of comic book films is it feels like a land grab, and every single actor that could be or would be in a comic book movie has already been in them. In fact, a lot of them have been burned just by being in Marvel. Like, when you think about Christian Bale and you think, oh my God, yeah, he's been in a comic book film, your natural thing would be think, oh, he was in the Dark Knight trilogy, until you remember he's also been in the MCU.
Yep.
Because I hear people say that, like, oh, they should get someone like Christian Bale to play in the MCU. It's like, bro, he's already been there, already turned and burned.
You wouldn't know,
Yeah.
but he's already been there.
So it does feel like as we've gotten to the late stages of comic book movies, they're going to have to reach further afield to find actors who aren't contaminated. I mean, I wonder about that even with the upcoming Supergirl film. Will Jason Momoa as Lobo, even though he clearly looks more like Lobo than he does Aquaman, will the fact that he was at one point Aquaman distract from him being Lobo?
Which is a valid concern. Because it's even a concern currently with Robert Downey Jr. and how iconic it is to see him as Iron Man, to think, will it be a problem that he's going to be Doomsday?
Yeah, can you own the role so significantly, or can you become pigeonholed where nobody will ever be able to see you as anything other than that character?
Exactly. So no, I think it's a good idea to allow unknown actors to be cast in these roles, especially when it works with IPs that are so massive.
Yeah, I think it to a degree, right? Because going and trying to find unknowns for the sake of, oh, look, I found this unknown actor, can also be a bit ridiculous. If you're having to reach too far afield. And like, look, there are some roles that absolutely need the boost of a big name actor. I mean, I don't think The Witcher would have popped off like it did in that first season if they had not cast Henry Cavill.
No.
So, you know what I'm saying? There's always...
But I'm saying it depends on which project you're looking at. If it's something that's more niche or obscure or small that people don't really know what's going on, you do need a big name to kind of do the heavy lifting to get the people interested, to have an initial draw. But if you have an IP that's so massive that everybody already knows who it is, like James Bond. Like, James Bond is such a well-known IP that you could really cast pretty much any actor and people would be interested to see how is it going to work.
Yeah, you can get to a point with someone like James Bond, a character like James Bond, where even an outwardly what seems to be poor casting becomes news in of itself, because it's like I can't believe they would cast this actor.
Exactly.
As that.
Well, guys, we might as well call it there. I would have loved to have open panel, but I feel like I've covered plenty enough. But hopefully the Man of Tomorrow will come out, even though it's not going to be 100% serious or perfect. It's the least we could get in order to break this burden that's been screwing with our hopes and expectations for years. Anyway, I'm going to find a stream for us to raid and then close out the stream. Thank you all for coming. So just be with me, folks. We're going to find it. We're going to raid a person's stream before we call it before we called it. Hang on. Who do we have here? Hang on. Let me just bring this up here. Let me bring it up. Well, might as well rate DualShock's Fan Rate Thursday stream. Thank you for coming, guys. Catch you there for the dualies tonight. And see you around.